Hey everybody, Dennis Wood here with a quick tech tip on how to use the BlackMagic iOS or Android app's remote control functions when you have no Wi-Fi. Normally you need a Wi-Fi network to control the camera remotely. I'm going to show you how you can control them anywhere. Middle of the desert, top of a mountain. Let's jump in. The reason I wanted to make this video in the first place is because I'd watched another video on how to connect just two cameras if you wanted to, say, remotely monitor yourself or control the camera. And it involved using USB-C network dongles and actually connecting the two cameras with network cables, which is fine. But this is a much simpler method. It doesn't involve cables at all, and it will only cost you about 30 bucks. What do you need? You need one of these. This is a TP-Link travel router. It's teeny tiny. It uses less than a watt of power, so almost nothing. And I'm going to show you how we can connect all these cameras and control them remotely. So all you need this and a source of power for it, which any power bank, any USB-C power bank will do. This one here, which is rated at, I believe it is 9,600 milliamp hours, will run this for about 2 days constantly. So this is one of my camera batteries, actually. It's a Sony camera battery. It actually goes on the LED lights. This one's a pretty big power bank. You could use a much smaller one if you just need the power for a couple hours. So let's hook this up and see how this works. Now I should mention that the unit comes with a USB cable. It has a micro USB and a standard USB-A, and it comes with a little wall wart here. You'll need this, you won't need this. One of the best things about this Wi-Fi hack is there's really nothing to do in terms of networking or even understanding anything. What you want is one of these in completely factory state. If it's not, you can power it up. There's a little reset pin and you can just hold that. Just power it up, hold that pin down with a paper clip or something like that, and do that for 10 seconds. The unit will go to factory defaults. This can be configured in a number of different ways. I don't want to go into that. There's probably 5 different modes. So if you're traveling and you need Wi-Fi, say in a hotel room, this is a perfect little unit. But today, we're just going to make it simple. Factory default. So just take it out of the box. And all you have to do is power it up. So you're going to plug in the USB-C cable. Let's get it in the right direction. And you're going to connect it to any power bank. USB power bank will do. And you can see that's it. Power bank's on, unit's powered up. That's all we need to connect up to 4 cameras remotely. And I'll show you how to set up the cameras. It's actually super simple. Now, on the back of these devices, there's some numbers printed. They're pretty small. You may want to take a picture of it with your phone and blow it up. But there is a pin, which is the default password for Wi-Fi. Now, you can go in and follow the instructions to configure this and set them up as you like. But what I'm showing you today, take this out of the box and just start working with it. So you're going to need to figure out what that number is. I think it's an 8 or 9 digit number. It's probably different for every one of these. And once you connect your cameras once, you won't have to do that again because they'll remember the Wi-Fi network. That's it. You basically connect them all and then use the BlackMagic camera app to set it up. So we'll switch the camera around here and we'll show you how to set that up. So what I have here are 3 different cameras. This is going to be our controller, this iPad, and we have 2 more cameras here that we're actually going to be controlling, and we're also going to pull in the camera that's actually filming. So we're going to do it all. First thing you want to do on each device is you want to go into settings and you want to connect to this network. And one of the things, you don't have to do anything else. You just connect to it. If you're in a car traveling or on a ski slope or whatever, you're always going to have Wi-Fi probably within the typical range of that travel router, which might be 100 meters or something, 300 feet. So one thing I do suggest that you do though is go in when you join the network on your device. If you're on an Apple device, I would turn off the private Wi-Fi address. So we'll just set that to off. And I've already said limit IP tracking off. And then one of the things that will really speed up the connection, if you take a minute, you can leave this on auto, the IP address. And what will happen is when you connect to each camera, it'll take about 20 seconds for it to find because the router is not connected to the internet. What I found was much quicker is if you go to configure IP, do a manual configuration and just use an IP address. So in this case, it's 192.168.0. The default network for that router is going to be 0.1. So, or that's going to be the address of the router default. So, and it's going to start assigning DHCP addresses, again, some technicality. after 100. So you can use anything under 100. So 192.168.0.16, set the net mask to 2225.0. Don't put in a router, don't do anything else. And do that on each device. So this one will be 16, this one will be 17, 18, and 19. Just make sure they're not the same address, that's all. Then, the next time you connect, by the way, you're not gonna have to do this. This is all gonna be remembered. So all you have to do is just select this TP-Link _0146, which happens to be the default network of this, or the default Wi-Fi just out of the box. Again, you can rename it to something else if you want, change the password and so on. I just left it at default so that I don't have to remember anything. And then we're gonna go into here to, let's just get out of settings and go into the BlackMagic camera. And I've lost the connection here. This is, sorry, I've got false color on here. We'll turn that off. So that's just a view from this iPad. What we're gonna do on each one of these devices is standard setup for the BlackMagic remote. So you're gonna go into the remote camera control, and I've got this one set as the controller. All the other cameras we would set for remote, but we're not gonna do that right now. We're gonna just use this as the controller. The rest are gonna be remote, and you set a password if you like. And that's it. So you can also set some options if you want to sync record and all that sort of fun stuff. I'm not gonna set any of those. I just, for the purposes of this, is just to show you how to connect. So we'll go to the camera, and then we'll go over here to our three little dots on the left, and we'll click our little remote icon. And you can see all of my cameras are here. The iPad is here, and the three that I'm working with. And what I like to do when I'm using remotes is I'll just check these all off. What's really handy is if you check this camera as well, because if you do that, then you can turn on false color, peaking, and those kinds of things on this, and then it'll take effect on all the other cameras, so you can set them up. You'll notice the network or the waiting symbol is going on right now for the 15 Pro Max and the 11, and it takes about 20 seconds. That's what happens if you don't set the IP address like I described. It just takes an extra, probably 20 seconds to just connect them. So if you do set the IP address like I did with a net mask and no gateway or router, then it will connect much quicker. Basically it's instant. So there we go. We've got three cameras. There's one. There's our this camera here that's got a nice view of that ball mount. This is our little car here, and then we have this camera, and then the camera we're actually filming on as well should be here. Yeah, so we got everything. That's it. That's how you connect all of your devices with just that little box. One of the things I wanted to point out is, how do you use the tools like false color and peaking and all that kind of fun stuff when you're using the remote functions? Because if you turn it on the camera that you're recording on, you're not going to see it on your remote. And the way to do it is this. When you're connecting the remote, make sure that you have the device, the controller, selected off. You can see here the iPad Air is what I'm using. I want to actually make sure that that's on. Why? Because if I go onto this device, you can see I've got my function button set up. And what I did, just a quick aside here, I went into settings, I went to the function buttons, I made sure that they were enabled, and I set them up for toggle. So we want F1, in this case I wanted to toggle zebras, F2, I wanted to toggle focus assist, you can see there. And then F3, I wanted false color, which I find super important when you're working with multiple cameras or even just one. So now with these function buttons set up for the controller camera, okay, which this one is, or the controller device, you can see I've got my function buttons here on the right. And what I'm going to do is just press F3. That's going to turn on false color. And guess what? It turns it on for all the cameras. So when I scroll through, I can look at my master image here, which is done in my shop. And originally the table here is actually a little bit overexposed right now. So what I can do is click on here, and well, I could just basically click and have the unit lock focus here. I might be a little out of focus at this time, but you can see it brought the exposure down in the table. So the false color on this screen is a hugely important tool. If you don't know how to use it, I would watch a few videos and use it 100% for every shot. I've messed up quite a few shots by having the lighting too hot, especially when you have a head like this, and it tends to get blown out real quick. So this is an important tool. So we'll just, again, go back here, And I see that the ISO is a little too hot. Yeah, so we've got ISO 449. I found that ISO in this case, and again, remember we're using false color to monitor the remote camera. We'll just drag this to somewhere around, let's just say, I like 400. Yeah, we have a little bit of hotspot there. You can see the light up in the background. I'll probably have that cropped out, but you can just see how that works now. False color is a hugely important tool. So that's a little extra tip, if you like, as well as your final parting tip, which is, look, just throw this in your camera bag. And let's say you're in a hotel or you're just out and about. You don't want to start messing up with connecting all these devices to Wi-Fi, even if you just have two. If you have one of these, turn it on. The cameras will automatically connect to it, especially if they're set up to auto join as they should be, and you're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this little technical video. A like and subscribe really helps the channel. Have a great day.